The summer of 2024 was supposed to be my fresh start. I'd just inherited my granddad's old cabin by Lake Serenity, a quiet stretch of water nestled in the rolling hills of Pinewood County, Oregon. After years of grinding through software engineering deadlines and Seattle's chaos, I was done with traffic jams and corporate noise. The cabin was my escapee, a cozy, weathered place surrounded by pines, with a lake so still it mirrored the sky. Granddad used to call it his slice of heaven, and I was ready to make it mine. Fishing became my ritual, a way to unwind with nothing but the sound of water lapping and birds singing. But peace, as it turns out, doesn't come cheap. Not when your neighbor's got a vendetta and a clipboard. It was a crisp July morning, the kind where the air smells like pine and promise. I was out by the lake at dawn, Granddad's old rod in hand, coffee steaming beside me. The world felt right until it didn't. Voices cut through the quiet, sharp and loud, like someone yelling at a dog. I looked up to see a woman storming toward me, flanked by two others who looked like they'd rather be anywhere else. She was in her early 40s, dark hair yanked back in a ponytail, dressed in yoga gear that screamed, "I'm in charge." Her name, I'd soon learn, was Karen Whitaker, president of the Crestview Heights HOA, a cluster of 25 houses just beyond my property line. She marched up, hands on hips, and barked, "What do you think you're doing in our community lake zone?" I blinked, rod still in hand. "Sorry, ma'am, there's a mix-up. This is my property. I inherited it from my granddad." Her face twisted like I'd just spat in her coffee. "Your property?" she scoffed. "This lake belongs to Crestview Heights residents. You're trespassing." Her posse nodded, though their eyes darted nervously. I kept my cool, setting my rod down. "Ma'am, I've got the deed at the house. This land's mine, lake included." She laughed, a brittle, mocking sound that sent a crow flapping from a nearby tree. "Anyone can claim they own something. Prove it. Right now." I gestured toward the cabin, maybe 50 yards away. "Papers are inside. Happy to show you." But Karen wasn't having it. "I'm not following some stranger into his house," she snapped. "You leave now, or I'm calling the cops." I almost chuckled at the absurdity. "Go ahead, ma'am. They'll confirm I'm right." I thought that'd shut her down. Nope. She pulled out her phone, locked eyes with me, and dialed 911. "Yes, there's a suspicious man loitering near our homes," she said, her voice suddenly quivering with fake fear. "He's refusing to leave our community lake. I'm worried he's dangerous." My jaw dropped. This woman was spinning a lie so bold it could have starred in a courtroom drama. As she hung up, I realized this wasn't about fishing anymore. Karen Whitaker had just picked a fight with the wrong guy. The next morning, Sheriff Tom Delaney showed up at my door, his weathered face etched with the look of a man who'd refereed too many neighbor spats. He was polite, asking me to steer clear of the lake for a bit to keep things calm. I nodded, but my blood was boiling. After he left, I found a neon green notice taped to my door, some official-looking Crestview Heights HOA violation, fining me $250 a day for unauthorized lake access. At the bottom, in sharp red ink, "Next notice means police action. K. Whitaker, HOA president." I laughed out loud, but it wasn't funny. It was war. That day, I tore through Granddad's old files, hunting for proof. He was a pack rat. Thank God, decades of papers stuffed in a rusty cabinet. Birth certificates, tax stubs, and then, in a faded envelope labeled Lake Serenity, I hit gold. A 1983 deed showing Henry Sullivan, my granddad, owned 50 acres, including the lake. But the real kicker was the survey map. I spread it out on the kitchen table, my hands shaking as I traced the lines. My land didn't just cover the lake and cabin. It stretched across the entire Crestview Heights development. Every single house Karen's included was on my property. I sat back, heart pounding, half laughing, half stunned. I didn't just own a lake. I owned a neighborhood. Memories started clicking. Granddad's tense phone calls behind closed doors. A vague comment one Thanksgiving about trouble with those Crestview folks that he brushed off with a smile. "Some fights you save for the right moment, Jack," he'd said. Now I knew what he meant. Digging deeper, I found a 1985 lease agreement. Granddad had let a developer build Crestview Heights, but he kept ownership of the land and lake, with clear terms. No interference with his lake access, and the lease could be terminated for violations. Karen was harassing her own landlord, and she didn't even know it. While I was piecing this together, Karen was busy painting me as the town creep. From my window, I saw her rallying neighbors, pointing at my cabin like I was hiding a meth lab. By afternoon, folks who'd waved at me days before were dodging eye contact. One mom yanked her kid away when I checked my mail. Karen's smear campaign was working, and it stung. But the irony? She was standing on my land, calling me a trespasser. It was like watching someone build a sandcastle in a hurricane, clueless about the storm coming. Then MS. Evelyn Carter knocked on my back door, a plate of brownies in hand, and a grin that said she knew more than most. Evelyn was 74, sharp as a blade, and had lived here before Crestview existed. Over coffee, she spilled the tea. Karen tried this nonsense with your granddad in '98, she said, chuckling. Accused him of stealing lake rights. Henry let her rant for months, then invited everyone for a barbecue by the water. Laid out his deed for all to see. Karen nearly choked on her potato salad. Evelyn's eyes sparkled. She's about to learn the same lesson, Jack. By Tuesday, Karen upped the ante, organizing a Crestview security patrol. I watched from my kitchen as 6 residents set up lawn chairs and hand-painted signs reading Private Lake, no trespassers. Karen directed them like a drill sergeant, walkie-talkies crackling. It was so absurd I filmed it. Grown adults on my land, ready to block me from my own lake. I decided to test them. At dusk, I grabbed my rod and strolled toward the water. Karen leapt up like I'd pulled a gun. He's here. This isn't a drill. Her crew scrambled, clutching clipboards. Sir, you can't pass, she declared. This is Crestview property. I smiled. You're right, Karen. It's private property. Mine. She froze, missing the hint. Evelyn sauntered over, her voice dripping with sass. Karen, didn't you learn from Henry? You're making the same fool of yourself. Karen's face reddened, but she doubled down. This is different, Evelyn. He's a threat. A few patrol members shifted uncomfortably, doubt creeping in. I nodded to them. You'll have a nice night. I'll be inside if you need me. I walked away, leaving Karen fuming. She was digging her own grave, and I was happy to hand her the shovel. Thursday brought Sheriff Delaney back, looking like he'd aged a year. Karen had filed a formal complaint, claiming I'd violated a fake restraining order and demanding my arrest for trespassing. She showed up at my cabin with 3 HOA lackeys, clutching a folder stuffed with photos of me by the lake, witness statements about my threatening presence, and highlighted HOA bylaws. It was a performance Oscar-worthy if it weren't so unhinged. Sheriff Delaney flipped through her evidence, then turned to me. Mr. Sullivan, got that deed? I handed it over, along with the survey map and lease agreement. He checked them against county records on his phone, his face unreadable. MS. Whitaker, he said, these documents are legit. Jack owns this land. Karen's face went from smug to scarlet. They're forged. Anyone can fake papers. Delaney shook his head. Verified with the county. They're real. Karen lost it, accusing him of corruption, calling the state police, even a local news station, ranting about a dangerous man and police failure. Her posse looked mortified, but she was too far gone, screaming about lawsuits and conspiracies. Delaney jotted notes, his jaw tight. This wasn't a spat anymore. Karen was unraveling. The next Monday, I woke to a news van parked by the lake. Karen had called a press conference to expose me and the sheriff. From my kitchen, I watched her direct the camera crew, her navy blazer wrinkled, her voice shaky but loud. 15 residents stood behind her, some clearly regretting their life choices. We're being terrorized by a dangerous loner, she declared, pointing at my cabin. He threatens our kids, and the police do nothing. Her theatrics were top-notch, gesturing wildly, fake tears for the kids' safety. If I didn't know better, I'd think I was a serial killer, not a guy with a fishing rod. I grabbed my folder deed, map, lease, plus screenshots of Karen's unhinged social media posts calling me a stalker. As she ranted, I strolled out, casual as could be, and called to the reporter. Mind if I show you some documents? Karen shrieked, he's lying. Don't listen. But the reporter waved me over. Karen's voice hit fever pitch. He's intimidating us right now. The reporter raised an eyebrow. It was about as scary as a Labrador. Then Karen dropped her bombshell. If the police won't act, we'll start a 24/7 watch on him. He'll know we're watching. The crowd gasped. Even her loyalists backed away. She'd just admitted to planning harassment on camera. Sheriff Delaney's cruiser rolled up, and Karen pounced. Arrest him. The cameras are rolling. But Delaney wasn't playing. MS. Whitaker, he said, voice like steel. You filed false reports, harassed Mr. Sullivan, and now threatened surveillance on a lawful property owner. That's criminal behavior. Karen's jaw dropped. We have rights. You can't evict us. I stepped forward, calm for the cameras. You're right, Karen. You have tenant rights under my granddad's lease. But you don't get to bully me on my land. Delaney nodded. Jack can ask you to leave his property, like any owner. Leave now, or I'll escort you. Karen looked to her crowd for backup, but they scattered like roaches. I'm HOA president, she screamed. I protect this community. Delaney wasn't impressed. Your title doesn't trump property law. The reporter's camera caught it all. Karen's meltdown, her allies bailing, the truth sinking in. I saw my chance to end it. Karen, I don't want arrests or evictions. I want neighbors, not enemies. But here's the deal. Resign as HOA president, apologize publicly, and the new leadership signs an agreement respecting my rights. Her face crumpled defeat, not remorse. Delaney cleared his throat. Take the deal, or face charges. She muttered, I'm sorry for the misunderstanding, and slunk off, her posse trailing. The cameras ate it up. 3 months later, fall painted Lake Serenity in golds and reds. Karen sold her house and vanished, too humiliated to stay on land I owned. The new HOA head, Mike Larson, signed a fair deal, and we all moved on. Evelyn became my fishing buddy, sharing stories of pine woods passed over coffee. Neighbors waved again. Kids played by the lake. The peace I'd craved was mine, sweeter for the fight. Granddad would have grinned at how it played out. I could have evicted everyone or sued Karen into oblivion, but I chose respect over revenge. Standing up for yourself doesn't mean burning bridges, it means building better ones. Now, every sunrise by the lake feels like a victory. So what do you think? Was I too soft on Karen, or did she get what she deserved? Should I have pushed for charges to teach her a lesson, or was public humiliation enough? And what's your wildest neighbor story got an HOA nightmare to share? Drop it below, hit that like button, and subscribe for more stories that'll keep you hooked.